we're literally just gonna talk about one of our favorite shows. So
got this.
Penny is frisky today. Penny Frisket is frisky.
And welcome to episode 2 of season 2. I am excited. Yep, we're excited to be here and to be doing these kind of different type of episodes. So yeah, we're back to the unscripted, unfiltered, and ranty. And so be prepared. We're gonna get into it because we're talking about the show Supernatural. Yeah. We're very excited. I'm very excited. It's like one of my top 5 shows of all time. But anyway, I'm Valia, by the way.
You.
Hi. There we go. So we're in good company.
I'm Joanna.
I'm Rose.
Yeah, so the 3 of us are just gonna dive in and talk about the show. But before we go any further, this episode will be full of spoilers. So literally, like everything from season 1 to season 15, we will discuss. I mean, we're not gonna take forever to discuss it, but we will talk about all the spoilers. So if you have not watched Supernatural, if you have not finished Supernatural, this is your warning to turn away now. But if you like spoilers and, you want to see if you need to finish the show, this is a perfect way for you to figure out if you want to finish it and watch it for yourself.
It's true. How I decided I was not going to finish the originals. So
yeah, so there we go. Oh, that makes me sad. But anyway, yeah, I do have a lot of feelings, but I promise that I will let the other girls talk as well. But yeah, we're excited to be here. How's everybody doing? It's been a while since you guys been on the podcast, like this kind of a podcast, not like an author interview podcast.
Yeah, this is my super fun podcast. The first one I've been on, the one that's talks about stuff like this, these little episodes. So I'm fun. Super excited.
That's awesome.
But I have to tell you guys, because my son, he's homesick, and I was trying to explain to him what a podcast is and why he needed to go upstairs so that he's not loud. So I played the last one I was on, and I was talking about how I needed a hobby and I wanted to learn how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And guess what? So my brother-in-law, he's super into guitars, and he has a ton of guitars. And they invited us up for dinner a couple weekends ago, and he was showing me all of his guitars, and he loaned me one of them.
No way!
So last week I started learning how to play the guitar, and it's been so much fun.
That's crazy.
Like I was saying in the other episode, I needed something creative that was like no pressure. And so last week, I'm trying to hurry and get this book written. And so every time I would get kind of stuck, I would just take a break and I'd go and go through the book and learning the guitar.
Aww.
And after 10 minutes or a half hour, I'd come back and the writing was there. And so
wow.
I'm like, yay!
That's awesome.
So I've already told my husband that I want a guitar for my birthday.
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
That's awesome. I love those non-pressure hobbies, activities, but they're still creative ones.
Yeah.
Because your brain is just still working and you don't feel like you're really wasting time,
right?
But that's so cool.
Yeah. Well, and writing used to be that for me, but now there's pressure attached to it, and so I'm glad that, and I like it.
Yeah, that's the best too, because you wanted to, and then now you like it, so it's okay,
exactly. Cool. I'm having so much fun learning.
Yes, every time somebody talks about picking up a new hobby, I always think to myself, I need a hobby, but I can never think of anything.
Well, this is something I've been wanting to do this for over a year. That I've just been I think because I used to play the piano, but I don't have room for a piano.
Right.
And so I can't have a piano in the house, but guitars are small.
Yeah, you can stick that anywhere.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know. Does working out count as a hobby? Because I feel like that's all.
It totally counts.
Sure.
It
my
totally
other hobby
counts.
is going out trying my bike.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. That's been my new hobby, I guess you can say. I've been obsessed with my gym and the classes and the people, my coach and stuff. So I'm let me just go. I'm one of those people who wakes up on Monday morning, that my one day to sleep in, I'm in the gym at 7:45 for my lift class. I was
wow.
Who am I?
You are so dedicated. Do you really do that? That's amazing.
Yeah, my mom is very proud of me because the thing is, I think I've mentioned this before to you guys, like I love exercising, but I always felt really stupid when it comes to exercise because I'm like, I'm gonna like get hurt, like I don't know what weights to use, like I would need to go with somebody, but then like I don't want to pay for the trainer because that's like a lot of money and like, you know, like all this stuff. So I started doing Orange Theory, which is kind of like having a personal trainer, but you're in the class setting, and then you also have that whole like you have the cardio and you have the heavy lifting, and now they have like just a lifting class. So now I go like 4 times a week, and I love it so much.
Wow,
and I'm like,
so amazing. You inspire me because you know I used to work out all the time. And then I just kind of stopped.
Well, you're a runner. You're a runner, aren't you, Rose?
Yes, I do a lot of running. I do a lot of walking. And then whenever I get like super deep into a deadline, I just kind of drop all of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, and then when I drop all of it, it's so hard to get back in.
Yeah.
So I'm at that point where it's just hard to get back in.
Yeah, which I think is why I'm like, I have to be dedicated because I'm one of those people like, if I stop, then I'm like never gonna go back.
Exactly.
So
that's the hard thing.
Yeah, I mean everybody goes through that, but anyway. Side note, that's it. Yay.
That's the update.
Yeah, so let's just get into talking about Supernatural. Like I mentioned, it's one of my top 5 favorite shows. Like this show is on repeat in the background when I'm writing, like 75% of the time. It's either this show or Criminal Minds. And so I can probably quote like every single episode to people and whatever. But I'm excited for us to talk about it because obviously we are all writers here, as you guys know if you listen to any of our episodes before. And we love fandoms. We love, studying fandoms. We love to be part of fandoms. And so this is kind of fun for us because we're going to have a discussion from like the fans' point of view, but also kind of from a writer's point of view. So yeah, I'm just going to give a quick overview of the show for those of you who may have not seen it or it's been a while for you. But it's basically a show that follows 2 brothers who, in season 1, their father goes missing and they are kind of forced to work together and trying to find him. And as they're looking for him, they are sent on these, I'm going to call them quests, but I don't know, missions, to fight supernatural entities, creatures, whatever comes along, fairies. I just love that episode so much. But anyway, so yeah, that's like the quickest way to describe the show. And yeah, let's just talk about it. Joanna, do you want to just like dive in?
I'm gonna fangirl first here for a minute.
Totally.
So I've watched it almost since the beginning. My mom has watched it since the beginning.
Oh wow!
Like when it started in 2005, and before kids, I would go and hang out with her and watch shows with her. And she started like, I think it was like 2 years into it, she restarted it and watched it with me. So we watched a lot of seasons together.
Okay.
But then when kids came into the picture, I would like not go over there as often, and I started watching it on my own. And I watched up to season 12, like as it was coming out. But at that time, my daughter was often up with me and it scared her. And I got way behind because I couldn't watch with her. Like I can't have it on in the background.
It's super scary.
Because it scares my kids. In fact, I rewatched the pilot yesterday. And my 7-year-old, he's like, this is kind of scary.
Oh my God. Your 7-year-old saw the pilot with you? Oh
my gosh. He was like watching something on his tablet. So he was only like half paying attention. But yeah, so as much as I would like to have it on the background, I can't because my children get scared by it.
Yes.
But Carry On Wayward Son by Kansas was my ringtone for probably a decade.
Yeah, I love it.
And I've seen Baby in person at one of the Comic-Con fan X's that have come through.
I have seen Baby.
And there's more than one Baby. So I just saw one of them.
Yeah.
There's like several. But for those of you who don't know, Baby is the super cool Chevy Impala that's Dean's baby.
It is the baby. Speaking of the baby, you guys, that is my absolute favorite episode of the show.
I was going to ask you what your favorite episode
was. When they had the show from baby's perspective.
That was so clever. A little bit, yeah. It's okay. We're good.
It goes with the theme. It goes with the theme of Supernatural because they're growling like zombies. So anyway,
we're good. Okay, no, that was a very clever episode. I love that.
I loved it so much, and it stayed with me more than any other episode, really, except for, of course, the last 2 episodes.
Okay, we'll get there. Hold on.
Yeah, we won't go there. But I absolutely love that episode.
That's cool. Joanna, do you have a favorite episode?
Yes. I have a list.
Yeah, I know, that's how I do. I'm like, there are a few that, like, the first 2, I think, for me that come to mind are Yellow Fever and the time loop one. There's like
Which one is the time?
Okay, remind us what happens.
So Yellow Fever is when Dean gets sick and he like gets paranoid over everything, and he becomes like the biggest scaredy cat. And I just I can't.
That is one of my favorites too.
I love that episode so much, and I also really love that episode because you kind of really got to see Sam's character growth, because he had to take care of Dean, who's always like the one that's like in charge of every hunt and everything like that.
Brother. Yeah.
And then this one, he like literally was like, oh man, the flashlight, because he wouldn't take a good gun because the guns are scary. Like,
I totally remember that. And I think that's what's so clever about this show, is because some of the stuff is so heavy and scary, and then some of it is so light and funny.
It's so relatable because it's literally 2 brothers. Like, the one thing that they never lost, I feel like, is like that relationship. Like, even the ups and downs, and when they got upset, like, that's such a brotherly thing to do. And then the time loop one is where Sam is stuck in a time loop, and so he wakes up every Tuesday and he's like, yesterday was Tuesday, but today's Tuesday too. And it's like this whole thing, and Dean just keeps dying in it, and it's like these comical deaths, like where he gets like a piano dropped on him, and like I don't know.
Yes,
that's on the list
sad,
too.
But it's so funny.
Like, how can you make death funny? But they can.
But they just do so well with that. No, I feel like those beginning seasons were just like so strong in that balance of comical and serious that it was like they knew how to pull you in. Like in the later series, when they started to do the bigger overreaching arc thing, I was like, give me back to those like individual hunts. Like, I love those individual hunts with like that overreaching arc, but like that wasn't the main focus. But yeah, anyway, that was a side note.
Yes. And you can totally tell the shift in the writing when it got so serious, and you could totally tell they were going and heading towards the end of the show, and it was like such a big change. Yeah. But I thought that was cool.
I feel like they had that a couple of times. Like there's a really big arc in seasons 1 through 5.
Right.
And there's the end of season 5 is hugely epic. I remember when it ended season 5, I was like, how
do you survive until it comes back?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, not just that, but like how, like, what story is left? Like, this is like the big story, and then it turned out that it wasn't.
But that's what I'm talking about. Like, I love that because it was season 1 through 5 that was like the big thing. But then in the later season, especially like in season 12 and like 13, they really went for those individual, like when they hit the Leviathans thing, like that was like a whole thing. And
like season 6. I think it was season 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And so then like every now and then they would have a season where it was just like this one big thing. And I'm like, okay, but like, I know you're working towards this big thing, but like, where's the individual hunts? Like all of a sudden you're not doing those. Like that's the part that I was like missing. Yeah. And it's really funny because in like my Skaska books, Callista is obsessed with Supernatural. And like literally in the first like chapter, she talks about how she just like wants to stay home in her pajamas and watch the hot boys drive around in the Chevy Impala.
Nice.
It's like, how many times in my books have I mentioned that car? I've
mentioned it before.
Yeah, that's how we do.
Okay. I need to put it in one of my books now because I don't have it in one of my books. Now I need to add it.
Yeah, I feel like I do that. Yeah, I feel like I do that for my favorite shows. Like I'll pay like homage to them by like making a mention of like something from the show. And obviously baby is just like the easiest thing to do. Yeah. Although I do have to say that Brendan from Skaska, he was kind of mirrored after Dean, so I mean, he kind of looks like him too, so I guess I was just really obsessed and in my feels about this show when I was writing those books.
But, yeah, who isn't obsessed with Dean? Man, Dean! I love him.
Okay, so let's talk about that, right? So the character development when it comes to Dean, like we'll just take one at a time. Sam annoyed me a lot of the times, but I think that was just his character, and so good job, guys. I'm doing a good job on that.
You have to tell us why he annoyed you.
I think because of the little brother aspect, like especially in the first seasons when he would like complain about stuff. I'm just like, shut up and do your work. Like,
yes.
And it's just big sister in me coming out where I'm like, let me just slap you. I was very much on Dean's side about everything, but
he didn't want to be there in the beginning.
Right.
Exactly.
Sam didn't.
Yeah. And he complained about it a lot.
Yeah, he did. He wanted to get away from that life and he wanted to go and live a normal life.
Right. Which is understandable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why not, right? That's the whole point of growing up and finding your own way and all that stuff. And I did love the fact that he ended up, I mean, obviously kind of not by choice there first in the beginning, but in the end, he really did end up by choice being like, no, I'm going to stick with my brother. I'm going to stick with my family. Like that was like a big character growth point for him. But I remember with Dean, like when we first introduced to him right away, you know, this sexy, like take charge, big brother, love him. But there was an episode, I think it's the first maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes. I can't remember now, but he calls their dad and leaves a message. And like at a gas station, he's like walked away a little bit. And that's like the first time you see him cry as he's leaving the message. Yes. And I was just like, oh my gosh, take my heart right now. And it's because like we got to see those vulnerable aspects of this hardcore character, you know, and I think that's what like makes characters like that so great. Is like they don't just like, oh, I'm gonna write a tough character, then he's just gonna be tough all the time. No, like you have to show those like ups and downs, and like his love for his brother was like such a big thing. And anyway, I love that.
I think you're right, because you know the thing about Sam is he is outwardly emotional. Like he's the kid or the guy the brother that's going to actually cry, and he's going to really verbalize all of his insecurities, whereas Dean keeps it all inside. And then when he shows it in a moment, it makes you go, whoa, he is the one that's really more emotional,
right?
I think, than Sam. Sam just shows it more, and Dean just carries it like, you know, inside, because he has to be the tough, strong older brother. And I think that's what's just so amazing about him as a character, because you're like, wow. And I love that. I love it when a character on the outside is a little bit different than the inside, but then when it comes out, it's just like, stop 1 second, what's happening here?
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be like big things too, right? It was like one little tear and he just kind of like, you know, get a hold of himself. It wasn't like a big blowout or whatever. Like it's just like those small tiny moments. And Joanna, I interrupted you, I'm sorry.
Well, I watched the finale, and then right after I watched the pilot, and in the pilot, after Dean convinces Sam to come with him to help look for his dad, I think they go to a hotel, like they always go to a hotel. And they find out that their dad had checked in there, and they like break into his hotel room, and Sam's about ready to give this big speech about like, I'm sorry, Dean, that I haven't been around or whatever. And Dean's like, let's not make this a chick flick moment. But then, and I know we're going to talk about it in a minute, the finale, there's this huge speech.
Oh my God.
From Dean.
That is definitely what he would call a chick flick moment. So like right there, just watching those two back to back, you see like the bookends of how far Dean has grown.
Yeah, and then you also kind of see Sam on the other side of that too, because in the pilot, he's very much, I'm not here, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this. But then in the finale, he's like, it's just us.
Yeah, it's us.
And we're just gonna do
together
this
forever.
And, yeah, and he really, it's the opposite for both of them, but so like you see it, and it's not like it comes out of nowhere. I think that's the part that I love the most, is that sometimes when I watch finales of shows, even shows that I love, I will see a character do something that's like their big moment or their big ending moment, and it's like, but I haven't seen them get here. Like, you didn't show me this growth, you didn't show me come to this realization. Like, I'm just being surprised because it's the last episode of the show forever, you're just gonna give him this big moment. I'm like, no, you have to show me that. And I think that even through the seasons, I mean, there were some seasons in Supernatural that weren't my favorite, and I didn't really like the storyline. I mean, I honestly stayed for the brothers and like that whole core, you know, their family and stuff that they created.
Like Cass.
Yeah, exactly, like Cass, and like even Jack later on, but like Bobby, and like, you know, like just those people that found family aspect.
Yes. I think what's so cool also is that they have this strength and bond as a real family, like a blood family, and then the strength and bond of the found family.
Yeah.
So I love how they have both of those throughout the whole series. And, you know, with Bobby as the surrogate father, and man, I just loved him. And I was so happy to see him at the very, very, very end.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we want to talk about the end. I have so many things to say
no,
about
we can
end.
talk about the end.
Well, I wanted to go back to what Valia was saying, that big, huge speech at the end that Dean gives, like, it didn't seem out of character when I watched it, and I didn't even notice that huge arc until I went back and watched the first episode.
Yeah, because
it's been 15 years since you've seen the first episode, and so kind of forgot a little bit that that's how he was in the beginning. So like, props to the writers for making it be so gradual that big speech at the end was like expected.
Right. Yeah. Like exactly. I mean, I just saw the first episode like 3 times in the last 6 months, so I guess that doesn't really count.
So you're able to see it better. I hadn't watched the pilot since probably 2008.
Okay.
So.
I saw the pilot when it came out. The very first time it aired, I was watching it on the couch with my husband, and then I saw it again yesterday, and I was just in awe of the writing, because Sam and Dean were really the same, but they had the same, but they weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Sam was still like kind of the reluctant brother, and he wanted his own thing, wanted to go to law school, and I'm like, what? Law school? I forgot.
Like, I've been there, done that.
I know. I completely forgot he wanted to go to law school and had to like studying for his LSAT and everything, and I was like, ooh, gross. Okay, so then, but then he was still kind of the same, like throughout the whole entire show, he still had this kind of wanting to be normal. It took him a long time to really say goodbye to all of that and step into his role, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, his role was always the researcher, always the like finding, you know, the spells and everything, that he took his to be a lawyer and
just applied
it to being a hunter.
Right. And I did love that too. In the later seasons, he was still the researcher, but then he would like also be the one that like the go-getter to go get it done, you know? And I love that growth, because at first it was just kind of like he'll research and then he'll let, you know, Dean take the lead, but then the later episodes and later seasons, he'd like do the research and he's just gonna go get it, and Dean's like, come on, dude, like what are we doing here? And yeah, I really love that. There was obviously some seasons where I was just like, guys, let me just rewrite this for you. Keep the characters all the same, but the overall arc, please let's change it, because what are you doing?
Yeah.
But talking about Bobby, though, I really, really like loved his character, and he really snuck up on me. Like, I did not expect to like him as much as I did, you know? But he was just such a good dynamic with the boys. Like, it just worked so well. And then, like, even Eleanor, like, oh my gosh, I loved her, and I was just so sad. Like, that episode, I cry every single time when she stays with Joe, and like, I hate that so much.
Yes.
And also because, like, I don't know, Dean, I know we talk about Sam being the one that wanted the normal life, but Dean has always had that desire for that family and that closeness, and so like he like really latched on to Ellen, like, you know, that whole thing, and then like he just kept getting ripped away from him.
Yeah, he almost got it a couple times.
Yeah,
he did. It was so close, right?
And then at the very end, like when he's got his little dog, and like,
I know.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I think we should probably talk about the finale. We keep coming back to it. All right, Rose.
Okay.
I think you've been holding back.
I have been holding back because when I saw it, when it first aired, I had the feeling that I did not want that last episode to be the last episode. Mm-hmm. I wanted the second to last episode to be the last episode. I did not want... Okay, I wanted them both to have a happily ever after.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was even... And then, you know, and I even mentioned that to my husband in the car because we were traveling yesterday, and I said... I didn't want that final episode then, and I still don't want it now because I didn't want Dean to go out like that.
Yeah.
I wanted him to just have a long and happy life. And then my husband said, well, he was never going to. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of...
And he knew that.
Yeah.
Yes.
He even
and I was
said
just
that.
like, oh my gosh. I said, I just... You know, when you think about writing and you think about your character and you think about what's going to happen to this character and how is it going to end for this character, there was no other way to end it for Dean.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no other way, even though I wanted another way. Mm-hmm. I wanted him
I thought
to
it was
have
a perfect ending for him.
I know, but I wanted him to have the dog, and I wanted him to go to the pie eating contest, and I wanted him to have fun and drink his beer and do his thing, and I just didn't want him to go. And I knew he was going to, and I knew that he had to, but I didn't want it. Does that...
No, that makes sense. Obviously, we would want like the better ending for them.
I didn't want it.
I think my biggest thing with it is because the episode before the final episode, the way it ended, it gave us that happy feeling. It did like the flashback of all the stuff and all the people and all that stuff. And I think it's because they didn't think that they were going to be able to come back and film the final episode, which...
Oh, that's a good point because it's
they
like
waited
it was...
a long time.
Yeah, they waited a long time. And the thing is if you think about the last episode, you would expect those people to make cameos and you would expect people to be there, but nobody was. That whole episode was very basic in like the cast. Like they had a very small amount of people there, and it was because of COVID and because of when they filmed it, and I think that might have ruined it for me personally.
You know what, Valia, you're so right.
Point.
I didn't even think about
that.
But
if it had been more than just Bobby there at the end, it would have felt a little bit more like a happy ending for Dean.
Right, exactly.
I did not want it to be just Bobby at the end. I'm glad Bobby was there, but I didn't want it to be just him.
Right.
I wanted a reunion.
Right. And I think that's what we expected, especially because of the episode before when we got to see those flashes. And I mean, like, even in the last episode, like, we didn't get to see Cass. We didn't get to see Jack. Like, Bobby mentions them, so we know they're alive in heaven and doing their thing and doing whatever.
Yes.
But we didn't get to see them visually. And so for us, it was like an unfinished ending, basically, because we didn't get to see that.
But at the same time, it kind of goes back to the first of the series. Like the first of the series, there was no Cass.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Jack. It was just the brothers. And Bobby was there from the beginning, but I wonder if that's
maybe. I guess I can understand that. I think it's because, like how we've been talking about the character growth in the beginning of the show, if Dean died, that's all he would have seen is just Sam and Bobby. But because he spent 15 years growing as a character and really opening his heart to people and really doing all that, for him to end up right where he started, I guess, like that just, it didn't feel satisfying to me. I'm like, they could have ended it in the episode before and I would have been fine, you know?
Me too. And okay, yes, all the way.
It was a symbolic thing.
I get it, yeah.
And like COVID was probably a big part of it too. But Bobby does mention that, hey, your parents live over there, and not that they're the only ones there. He's like mentions, oh, they're here, they're just not right here,
right? Yeah.
The other thing that bothered me with that final episode was I didn't feel like Sam was happy, because when he had his kid and they showed the moments of doing things with the kid, but there was a sadness around him that shrouded him, and he was sad, and he never got over Dean's death, and I did not like that. I wanted him to be able to live life, and he really didn't. And then at the very end of Sam's life, when he was in the hospital bed in his home and his son was there, I was like, where's the other family? Where's his I was like, where's the rest of the family surrounding him around the hospital bed in the home?
It was COVID. They couldn't hire too many actors.
They could have had all the extras just come and stand around. I just feel like it made Sam look like he was sad and depressed the rest of his life.
Until he died too.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I just didn't like that.
I can definitely see that, especially that scene where he like goes and sits in Baby in the driver's seat. And that was like a big thing, right? Dean always drove. And so there was only like probably 5 times in the 15 years where Sam drove, outside of like Dean not being there, obviously. But I remember like I seen that scene and he was like way older in it, right? Already, and he's just sitting in the driver's seat, and I'm like, okay, but like you're telling me, I understand, like I have people that I've lost and I will never get over their deaths. I will always miss them until I see them again. But like I totally agree with you, Rose. Like I wish they would have shown at least a little bit more happiness in the rest of his life, because obviously he like had a kid, so he got like married and he did all that stuff, but also they couldn't even bring like his wife in to do the thing, because I think she was the one that was like in the background, but they couldn't like even
his actual wife.
Yeah, but they couldn't give him a wife because of COVID. Like she was just in the background.
She was on the porch.
She was on the porch.
It's like, okay, if they can have a kid actor who has like, he's a little kid and then a bigger kid and then he's like an adult kid, I mean, why can't they just get a woman to come in and be with like a happy family?
Because they didn't want to give us a happy ending.
I know. I didn't like it.
No, I agree. It took me a really long time to watch the last 2 episodes. Like they were sitting there in my queue for a very long time, because first of all, I didn't want it to end, right? And I knew that there was no way I was going to be satisfied with the ending, because when you love something so much, literally nothing they do will be like satisfying. Because especially as a writer, right, your brain is like, but I could have done this and I could have done this. Like as a storyteller, like you can change things. And so I have like made peace with the way I feel about the finale, because I know that I probably wouldn't have been happy with anything they did. And that's okay. Like it's okay to love something that much.
Yeah, you're right.
The final moment was good though.
Yeah, when they like got together and like hugged, and he just
in fact, it was like almost identical to the final moment of Vampire Diaries.
Oh yeah,
was it?
That's true.
Yeah,
but isn't there like, doesn't he open the door or something? Isn't that like they're at the house at the Vampire Diaries?
Right, but it's
the
end
brothers
of,
coming
it's
together.
the brothers coming together.
This is why you love the show, isn't it?
I know.
It's the brothers.
In fact, okay. So while both the shows were running, I think the four of them became really good friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love that.
And Paul and Jensen and Jared became pretty good friends. And I think that they would joke that the end of the Vampire Diaries was going to be Sam and Dean rolling into town.
I've seen that. That would have been hilarious.
Oh, that's funny.
Which could have been funny. But I mean, obviously the lore is different. Vampires in the Supernatural is like way different, but
there was something in Supernatural though that did a crossover into another show on CW, and I'm trying to think of what it was. Was it Legends of Tomorrow? Was it like Constantine or something? I can't remember.
Weren't they gonna do a spin-off and it just didn't take? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, they were going to have a spin-off. They had an episode where it was like set in Chicago, I think, and it was all about like werewolf family.
Yeah,
was it Jody? Was it Jody?
That was a different thing. So that was the Bloodlines one with the werewolves. That was the first spin-off that didn't take off. And then they were going to do the Wayward Sisters, which was going to be Jody and the girls. That like didn't that didn't take off. But no, there was one episode, I'm almost positive. There was one episode in later seasons where they're like in the forest or something like that, and they like come across something that's like either in like Legends of Tomorrow or Constantine or something like that.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up because I just remember that right now as we're talking about it because you said Vampire Diaries crossover. And I'm like, wait. So I feel like they did something.
They never could. I know. It would have been funny.
It would have been funny. You know what I always wanted to do that obviously will never happen now is go to one of their conventions because those videos are honestly some of my favorite stuff when they're just getting interviewed and getting asked questions. Like, I love that. But it would have been funny if they were having one of those, or like the Vampire Diaries people were having one of those, and Dean and Sam just showed up.
That would be funny.
That would have been awesome. Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Hillywood show?
Yes.
On YouTube. Have you seen the one with Supernatural?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Okay, so Hillywood, they're these parody sisters that they put together these like really elaborate parodies, and they'll take like a popular song and they'll turn it into like a movie or something. Like Hocus Pocus is a really good one. But the fun one about Supernatural is they take one of Taylor Swift's songs and they're singing it, and then all of a sudden the characters start showing up, like the actual actors. It's really
Oh my gosh.
You'll have to look it up. It's
okay.
hilarious.
I'll have to look it up.
So every time I hear that Taylor Swift song, that's what I think about.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that. I also love that Supernatural was on during those like weird challenges, like the Harlem Shake challenge. Do you guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's like even.
Oh my gosh.
I just love like Dean dancing. He's like doing like the single ladies, and then like they like pan out, and it's like everybody in the crew and everybody they're just like doing weird dance. There was another one too that was like a big challenge, and they did it on set. I also really love those commercials that they used to put out where it's like, we're coming back, you know, whatever on CW. And then it would just be them doing like really stupid stuff. Like they're sitting in like a kiddie pool with like Christmas clothes on, and it's like July or something. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that whole cast. Goofy. Yeah, I feel like the whole cast. I mean, you have to when you work with somebody for 15 years, but you also don't. Like, you can like not get along with somebody for that long. Like, that's fine because you're professional. But I really feel like all of them are really close and like
they are.
Well, you know, they may not be as close as we think because yes, did y'all see that tweet?
Yeah.
It was a tweet that Dean,
it was a few months ago, wasn't it?
Jensen, that he talked about a prequel.
Yeah.
And Sam's character was like, Jared was like, what?
Yeah,
what
he's
prequel?
Like, nobody told me about this.
Like, oops.
Yeah, okay, but also like a part of me is like, was this really real? Because that was some good publicity. Like, come on, you know, it would be something that they would do too, and that just, you know, whatever. But I'm probably not going to be watching that prequel. I'm going to be honest, because I don't need a John and Mary story. Like, I got all I wanted from Supernatural, and
we got a lot of their story.
Yeah, we don't
in the
need
course
anymore.
of the series. Yeah.
Unless you fast, you know, travel to the, you know, the future and we get to see everybody do their thing. Like, I'm not interested.
I'm with you on that one because, you know, I just want more of Dean and Sam. And if it's somebody else, I just don't want it.
Yeah.
And Cass.
Yes, I do love Cass. Yeah.
No, I love that he was only supposed to be there for like literally 4 episodes.
Yeah. Then he regretted using that low voice.
Yep.
Because he ended up having to use it for
like
all
10 years.
Those years.
Yeah, like he was stuck with it. Way to go.
Well, Dean too, if you guys just watched the first episode, his voice is just like regular, and then like by the end of the show he's just like down here like old.
I'm like, okay. He sounded like a little boy. And I was like, well,
they were in their 20s.
They were much younger, but definitely he still must have had the same voice, but he sounded so different.
Yeah. Well, he started going lower. Like you can kind of see the progression where he kind of started using his lower voice. But I do have to say that all of them aged so well.
Oh yeah.
Like not just Dean and Sam, but like everybody, like every single person in that cast. I'm like, what are you guys drinking? Because you aged so well.
They drink a lot of water.
True.
They moisturize.
Oh, really fast. We have to talk. Do you guys remember the episode where they're like go into our world, quote unquote, and
they're themselves?
Yes.
That's on my list of like favorite episodes. And how
that was clever.
Jared's wife, his real wife, who was Ruby, and he thought she was Ruby.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that was so well done and so clever.
And Misha was so hilarious.
He was so good at his little cell phone texting.
Yes. And he was like wearing like one of those like ugly sweater, like Christmas time ugly sweaters or something.
Yeah, that was clever. I mean, the writers are just so clever.
Yeah, they did an amazing job. And I think that really just I don't know. I've watched shows for a long time. Obviously, like Criminal Minds, right? They were around for 15 years. That was a long show. And Bones was one of my staple shows that was around for 12 years. And, you know, you have your ups and downs, but those shows that really last, especially in CW, like, or WB when they first started, like for them to last that long on that channel, on that network is like an incredible accomplishment, because
I think they broke records.
They did.
Supernatural broke records.
Yeah, and I think that just really talks about like, you know, the writers, the production, and the actors
and the cast. Yeah.
And I don't know, I just feel like it's going to be one of those shows that like years from now, people, you know how people talk about Buffy or Angel like being their like staple go-to classic show. I feel like Supernatural is definitely on that list for people. It's going to be on the list for me. Like my children are all going to watch it.
Yes, mine too when they're older and not scared of it anymore.
Yeah, because I think it's just, and I love also because it really did teach really good core values. Like it's a supernatural show. Like what do you expect from it? But no, you walked away with like actual lessons, like life lessons. And I think that was part of the appeal too. You know, obviously we love pretty boys and fun supernatural battles, but having that emotional connection to characters and to situations, and you know, walking away with those lessons, like that's what's going to keep the shows in your hearts and in your minds, and you know, all that stuff. And that's what we do as writers, right? For books, like that's what we want people to take away from our books too. So I don't know, obviously I can fangirl about this show forever. I'm sorry for like
you're great.
I'm like, let me just talk about this for an hour.
So good. You know, another thing that really made me so sad was when Cass sacrificed himself for Dean, but his speech and what he talked about when he was talking to Dean, oh my gosh, that was so emotional. So, there's something.
Their friendship was that found family brotherhood. And I know there are people like ship them and stuff like that. I never saw that. I always saw that as just two people who are not blood brothers really becoming that family to each other. And I really love that.
It's like the heroine's journey, even though it started with the two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Dean was alone at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And at the end,
he wasn't.
They have this huge family.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, really fast. Another episode. That episode where they wrote the musical about Supernatural.
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry. I just love that so much. And like Dean breaking the fourth wall too and just like staring at the camera. It was the best.
The Trickster episode.
Oh, yes.
With all the TV shows that they're stuck in the TV shows.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah. That one was like a fangirl moment for Dean and Sam, for Jensen and Jared.
Yes, it was.
They were just like, yes. Yeah, they did some really crazy stuff, but it worked. It really did. And they never, I feel like it's because they never lost that heart of the show, which is so hard to do, but they did. And it was so good. They did.
Well, and, whenever they would show up and pretend that they were FBI agents or whatever.
Oh
they
my
always
gosh,
have these crazy names.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice who the names were for the last episode?
Bon Jovi.
No, it was Kripke and Singer.
Oh yeah.
It was. So the creators.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, I did notice the Agent Bon Jovi because when Sam answered the phone,
it was Agent Bon Jovi.
They were asking for Agent Bon Jovi, and he was like, it was a moment where he was so sad, but then they're asking if he is Agent Bon Jovi, and it's like, whoa, am I supposed to? I didn't know. It's like, that's funny, but I'm so sad,
You're like, how do I emote to this?
I didn't know how to react because that was funny, but it was so sad.
Okay, but I love when Cass pretends to be an agent. He's like, Agent Spears. And they're like, what? And then he holds the thing upside down, and Dean's
so
just
awkward.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's the best part though, because you had the humor and you had the heart, and it was just like, it was everything. It was a full meal. It's everything you wanted. And now it's gone forever.
Crazy
on Netflix. You can keep watching it on Netflix.
Yes.
Thank goodness,
right? Yeah. So I feel like we can actually talk about this forever. At least I can. And I have really dominated this conversation. I'm very sorry. But obviously I needed to talk to somebody about it. This who would understand.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah. But does anybody have anything really important they want to mention here? Yes, no, maybe so? No? Okay.
Well,
fantastic show.
I think we could go on and on and on about how much we love them, but I don't know. If anyone out there has not seen this show, you need to see this show. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that.
Just watch it.
It'll take a while to binge it because there's a lot there.
It will take a while.
But hey, if you that's like a good project. If you were going to take on a show, this is a good show to take on and watch in the middle of the night. I'm just kidding.
When your kids aren't awake.
Yeah. No nightmares, please.
Yeah. I really quick before we wrap it up, I do have to say that I really love the lore in this show.
Yes, me too.
They did a really good job just pulling from every possible culture, everything, that episode with the bad Santa. I just can't. That episode always makes me laugh because it's those pagan gods, and they make the wreaths and stuff. And then he's like, "We don't cuss around here," and then it's like, "You fudging if you fudging touch me." Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. But anyway, that was really great too, which obviously as writers we really love because that's what we do too.
Yes, so creative.
Yeah, so yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. I really love having these type of discussions. Hopefully next time I don't talk as much, but if you do have a show for us to talk about, like something that you would like us to discuss, let us know on our Instagram at Reading Queens Pod, because maybe we have seen it and maybe we've been dying to talk about it. So we might surprise you one of these days and have a whole discussion about your favorite show. Or if this is your favorite show, then let us know as well, because clearly we're fangirls over here. So
yeah, we want to hear from you.
Definitely. Do make sure to watch our Instagram this week. We're going to need your help with something. So yes, I'm just hinting mysteriously, but that just means that you're going to have to go to our Instagram and follow us and make sure you check it out throughout the week. Anyway, before you go, please give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform and leave a star rating or a review. Those really, really help us and we would really appreciate it. Also tell your friends, because this is a great podcast and everybody should listen to it. And that's it. We'll talk to you guys later.